live on fan base too. So welcome.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
I know.
Hey y'all, listen. Leonard, right before we get on there, Leonard go throw some shit at me. Talking about we live on this, we live on that, we live on that. And I was like, well, that's you tell me before I get on, you just gonna throw my face out there. What are people looking for me and shit? I can hide on Facebook. I can't hide on YouTube and all this other stuff. Because you want to be famous. Now I got to be famous. I was trying to be incognito. But it is
never that.
It is what it is.
Incognito. Never that. Never that.
Oh, me?
That's something you were not trying to do, Pimpin'. You were never trying to do.
I am a what's the word I'm looking for? Very I hide in plain sight. Let's say that. That's what I mean to say. I hide in plain sight.
You sure do that. No doubt about that. Welcome to look, everybody. Welcome to We Have Something to Say. Don't pay no attention to Kenneth. I know how to bring into the show. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We got a lot to talk about. We have something to say with Kenneth Lively and Leonard Watkins, or Leonard Watkins and Kenneth Lively, however you prefer to say it.
Well, K comes before L. And L comes before W, so it's got to be me first.
Hey man, I had look.
I'm saying we learned that in school.
I could check my ego at the door, Pimpin'.
Oh please. Oh, okay.
I can check my ego at the door. You got it. Your light. Look. I could just try to make my light become as bright as yours. There's no problem. Don't dim your light for me.
Oh, see. There you go with that old.
Don't dim your light for me. Whatever you do, don't dim your light for me.
If I could have your life, I give mine up or something like that. That's what they used to say back in the day.
Don't dim your light for me. No. So look. So all this week I've been having these strange conversations, and so I'm just gonna throw it out there because I want to say something first. I do agree with some of the narrative that says black men are the second biggest voting bloc for Democrats. No doubt about it. I totally agree with that. And I do believe when I sat back and looked at it, that they were that narrative's been pushed out here that black men aren't going to do such. That's a very false narrative, because shit, if 86% of us vote, then, and I'm never really agreeing with somebody like Charlemagne the God, but I do agree with him when he says, maybe Hillary and them need to talk to those white women that's voting on the other side, because at the end of the day, they're going to drive this election. But here's my thing that issue I have with a certain class of black men. If this shit goes left next week, how are we prepared? Because we seem to me to be like sitting ducks. If this election goes 50-49 and Kamala's way, y'all don't think that there's going to be some pushback? And how are we prepared as a community? Because they damn sure preparing. They are tilling the field for some type of, I hate to use the word uprising, but something. Even though I don't think any of them have the balls to put their life on the line now that Joe Biden has control of Joe Biden's the final decision maker of the military this time. I don't believe that. But if it was, what is this ability to act like we are not sitting ducks? And what is this thought processes that makes some of you all feel that you're a radical for thinking about the unthinkable, and how are we prepared for it? Like, what is that? Because in my opinion, just in being around my friend groups or my brother's friend groups since July, we don't even want to have conversations about what happens if somebody calls and say, hey, I need you someplace, and how do we protect the community? It's scary to me. Like I had somebody tell me, well, if shit went forward all the way left. Well, I got a gun, and I'm always like, one, you got what tell me how that's going to protect you against a group. How is that going to protect you against a group? Is this ability to not act like the unthinkable. And one thing I always say about Israel, I was just telling somebody this yesterday. They always think of the unthinkable. And how are we prepared to deal with the unthinkable? And they've done that since the 6-day war. And I realized that when they got attacked on Yom Kippur, the most holiest day of their year, by 6 Arab nations, they totally changed their thought process and said anything is possible when it comes to humans. What is this? I mean, I don't get it. And I don't get how I think, I don't know if I said this last week, Kenneth, I think I did, how 75% of African Americans were raised at some point in the Christian tradition, 75%. And which means that if you have, let's say, 30 to 32 million African Americans, and let's just say half of them are men, even though we know it's not half, it's more like, 40%. And if you take 10% of those men, that's 4 million men who have not gotten together in any way, shape, form, or fashion to develop some unofficial sentinel to protect the community, like the Deacons of Defense did. What is that? What is that? And where do we get to the point where we say, I'm going to trust certain groups' goodwill when they have not shown us any goodwill? And I get into these conversations and brothers want to talk about everything but the elephant in the room. Everything but the elephant in the room. As if to say, for them to even think it is radical. That shit is mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling. That you could have a church full of men that couldn't defend their church, just talking shit. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't have a problem going to a bar and kicking it and going to have bourbon, but not all the fucking time with what they have been showing, with what people have been showing to us over the last 2 years. I think that's nuts. Nuts. That we have not, for some reason, in my opinion, I always want to be open to being proven wrong, because sometimes you want to be wrong. That the former president has put enough people into what I can only call a nationwide psychosis, that they have enough people that will do damn near anything. Like, I just read, guess what I just read that Mitt Romney what's one of his number one reasons why he won't endorse Kamala Harris, Kenneth? Worried about the security of his family. Worried about the security of his family. General Milley said that he has installed bulletproof glasses. The top general, which could tell you how serious it can get. The top general has installed bulletproof glasses in his house. And I just, can you even imagine? Yesterday, Jeff Bezos pulled the Washington Post endorsement of Kamala Harris. And then said, we're not endorsing any more presidential, because according to the 2 articles I read, and the former editor told him it was cowardice. Because the last time Trump was in office, he started in the back channels messing with Jeff Bezos' business interests. The same shit that I've been telling people that Putin did. What makes you think that you think your C-suite, your great job, your whatever it is, that you just can stick your head in the sand and say, I'm just going to keep my head down and everything will be all right? Have y'all lost y'all fucking minds? You see this, but we won't talk about it, knowing that we're the most vulnerable. Knowing that we have not shored up our communities. And yes, I'm going to talk about Christian men and the Christian faith, because it's way more of us than anybody else. It's not even close. It's way more of us as a subgroup than anybody else. And we haven't found a way to get together and to get in a structure, or the structures that we have, to say, hey, look, this may be coming down the pipeline. And if it doesn't, it's all gravy. But if it does, we're prepared for it. Marion said 20 million are male. Census records. What is this timidness? Go ahead.
I don't know what to say. You went on this long 10-minute tirade or 11-minute tirade about how Black men are prepared to protect our community.
Are we?
My thinking behind all of this is this, and it's something I've been saying for years. You don't have to tell everybody what you got. You don't have to tell everybody that you're. I've said this on the show prior. I think I have. It always pisses me off when I see somebody walking around in Walmart with a gun on their hip. Now, when I was a cop, and you have law enforcement in your family, you will never ever find a cop walking around and off duty with his gun showing or her gun showing. You will never know that. The reason why, you don't want anybody to know that you're strapped. Because if somebody wants to do something, the first person they're going to take out is the one that they see with a gun. That's the first person they're going to go with, because you're the biggest threat. So I say all that to say this. You're probably right about that. In the sense of we're not ready to protect each other, protect our own. But don't run around telling everybody that you're ready to protect your own. Let them be surprised, unpleasantly surprised. I just don't believe. One thing that and that's something else that I've said for years. Every time, we have, and this is Black people, we come out with an agenda and we tell the whole world what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do it. And our enemies, the people who don't want us to rise where we're supposed to be in this country, they will come up with a strategy based upon what we said we're going to do. We don't need to tell everybody what we're going to do. We just need to do it.
Well, how do you propose that we get the message out? You're a former soldier. How do you propose? Communications in the field is everything. How do you propose that we get the message out?
I don't propose we do it on social media.
I didn't ask you that.
Just go ahead. I know. I'm just saying. I think we just need, if we're going to get our community prepared for what may happen, we just need to do it within our circles and keep it moving. And expand the circle.
Oh, you don't want to tell
expand the circles. Didn't I just say don't talk about it on social media? I literally just said that. When the Deacons of Defense started, they didn't go on Facebook and say, hey, we started a Facebook group called the Deacons of Defense where we're going to start protecting our community. Was it a Facebook? I know that.
They did go amongst the churches.
Right. Amongst ourselves. They went around and talked to men, and they told the men, hey, and it was probably only men in the meeting when they said it.
Kenneth, that's cool. We won't even talk about it. Period. When the last time you say you done hamstrung me today? and that's fucked up. Because anything I say, anything I say right now is on social media. So you already put a rule in place that well, what do you? Okay, well, shoot, let's just talk about Beyonce since I can't say nothing. Did she look good last night?
I don't know. I didn't see it. I'm over looking at these rallies and all this stuff. I'm done. It's like, okay, you got me. I already voted, so I voted on the first day.
Michael Stokes just responded, "Who gives a fuck?"
That's what I'm saying. I don't care about you know what that type of stuff. The rallies that's going on now and the celebrities coming out, that's for the people who barely pay attention to stuff. They have the Beehive and what do they call the other ones?
Okay, wait. There you go. There you go. Mary got a question for you. There you go. Yeah, you can respond to that. That's why I love you, Kenneth.
Oh, I was reading it when you told me what Mike said. I'm gonna respond with this. You don't have to let everybody know what you got. Let them be unpleasantly surprised.
Kenneth, there's nothing to be unpleasantly
surprised. Hold on. No. Let's say this.
Okay, go for it.
What was it?
He just had a moment of clarity, everybody.
Okay. FAFAO. You know what that means?
Fuck around, find out. You got two of them.
Yeah. I had to make sure I had the letters right.
It's FAFO.
Hey. No, you got to put that last E in there.
You got to put two of them in there.
You got to put two of them in there. Let them know. Let them fuck around and find out. Seriously.
I agree.
Because as I said, the thing I say is this. Going back to my analogy about people walking around Walmart showing their gun. You're the first person they're going to take out. They take you out. They got everybody else. But if they don't know what you got, and the other part of it too is people who are big advocates of the Second Amendment. I had a guy, he was a cop actually. He told me, I don't want the government to know how many guns I got. I don't want them to know.
Hey man, let me tell you.
I don't want nobody knowing what I got in my house because one, if people know what you got in your house, they will break into your house and get what you got when you ain't home. But let them come in, I'm home. They're gonna fuck around and find out.
Hey man, you know what? Let me say this. Let me say this to that. I've been saying this for a while.
What you been saying?
Man, nobody gives a damn. The government could care less about how many guns you got in your house because they're gonna find out if the government makes the decision.
I agree with that.
Okay, but they don't. If the government makes the decision, if the government or any president makes the decision that they have to come to any individual house to do whatever they want, you don't stand a chance.
I listen. I don't disagree with you on that point.
And I'm not. Let me be clear. I'm not one of those ones that is paranoid about the government coming to my house. I'm not one of those ones that is of the belief that everybody in the government has some diabolical motive, blah, blah, blah. That's just some psychosis that's been put out there. And it's got enough people whose personalities are what's the word I'm looking for? More inclined to believe that shit. It's a bunch of David Koreshes. And what those people are, let me tell you what I think those people are. Those people are people who just want to do shit the way they want to do it regardless of a group of people who believe in a republic and say their voices are heard through their representatives. Those people just want to be contrary. And they think that they can have their contrary rules. And I say bullshit to that. Bullshit. You don't have to be in this country to follow the rules. You can do what Jim Jones did, and we see what happens when that happens. But you don't get to say, because I'm of this religion, that I don't have to follow the rules of the majority and that I can do what I want. It's like these Mormons who have 30 wives. Well, you just don't get to do that because you are part of a republic. We might let some of that stuff go, but when it gets to the bottom line, that is not good for the main body of the population, which is most of the times what rules are in place for. But all I'm saying is, getting back to what we're talking about, all I'm saying is that at some point, and I've been saying this since we started doing this show, at some point, the majority of the men in our community who, whether you're practicing or not, the one thing that most of us have in common, 72% of us, is somewhere along the way we were brought up in the Christian faith. Somewhere. That's the thing we have in common. We may not have politics in common, sexuality in common, beliefs about marriage in common, but most of us were raised somewhere along the way in that Christian religion. And so since we're the most, we have a bigger responsibility. I think I've told you, so I want to go off on my 11-minute diatribe like you told me earlier. I think I told you that the playground over here at my park. And one of the things I've asked the Brothers for the Nation to say is, can we just make the playground sacred? Just the playground. The playground where we're going to have strict rules around these kids who come to play at the playground about what your behavior can and cannot be. No guns, no weed. Just this 1,000 square foot space. Y'all can go smoke. Can we do that? Because too many people don't understand this consequences for putting our kids at risk. They just don't. I don't give a fuck about their upbringing. I don't give a damn about single mama, daddy beat you. I don't want to hear about none of that shit. This space is sacred for these kids. Period. We don't go out and get wins like that as a Christian community. We just don't. And we get mad when somebody like me points it out. Well, I ain't gonna say we get mad. I think we get uncomfortable because of how my tone. I get it. So why should I believe that between me, you, I'm just throwing names out here. I'm not saying this about anybody. I'm just using me as an example. Me,
don't
Kenneth,
put me in your conspiracy.
What you say?
Don't put me in your conspiracy. I
Not,
don't want the government coming kicking in my damn door because of shit you said.
No. Let me be clear about something. I need to be very, very clear to anybody watching this. I love my country. I don't like what's it becoming with this psychosis. But I said this numerous number of times. You know where I stand. I ain't got no fucking place to go. You know, that's a whole nother conversation. There's nobody that's offered me the right of return or you. I'm fully aware of where I sit at on the totem pole. I'm just saying that within my community, there needs to be consequences and rules in place to say, hey, there's just some things we're not going to tolerate in this community. You can go do that in Buckhead. You can go do that. But you can't. There's certain rules we're going to have in place. That's all I'm saying. So they don't have to worry about me. I'm here for life. I'm here. Don't put you in none of my conspiracies. Sometimes you just it doesn't hit me till like 2 minutes later, and it hits me like, wait a minute, and my brain goes, wait a minute, back up. What you say? So, you know, I had lunch with an old college classmate of mine, and she's from Augusta, and we were just talking about this. What happens if it goes left next week? What happens if this is part of a bigger plot from these? No, because, and the reason I say that is because I watched the clip of the Georgia GOP Republican chair on CNN last night, and he's just on TV lying. And the dude from CNN says, "You know you lying, right?" Like you do know you lying, right? Literally says, you know you lying, right? You know that you got a Republican governor and Republican Secretary of State that says the elections are free and clear, so you're just lying. And this fool says, no, they're just giving a narrative that's not true. Okay. What you gonna do with that psychosis when these people are hell bent on power, of not letting it go any further than they want it to go? What are we doing?
We're gonna do what we always did: adapt and overcome. We don't have a choice, because the alternative is to give up, and we can't give up. So we're gonna adapt and overcome. We got to do what we got to do to make the best of what we got.
Hey man,
well, let's say this. And it's something I want to pivot a little bit. Something I saw right before we went on the air.
Go for it.
There was a lady who worked in the Trump White House. She was the chief of staff for General John Kelly. Kelly is the one that came out. General John Kelly came out the other day and said that I think he was the national security advisor for Trump.
He was the chief of staff. He was the chief of staff.
Chief of staff. Okay.
Longest serving chief of staff.
So she said that, and she was his chief of staff, John Kelly's chief of staff, and they were told. This is so funny. She said when they had, of course, every day they have to give a briefing to the president about what's going on. Hold on, sorry about that. What's going on in the United States, foreign policy, all that stuff. And she was saying that they were told by, I don't know who it was, somebody in the administration told them, listen, when you give the president a briefing, keep it brief. First, they said you can't have more than 10 slides in your briefing. Then they said it can only be one slide. You can't have any words. It can only be pictures. And then she said something that really blew me away. She said every time there was an issue that came up, no matter what it was, he always turned to violence as a solution to the whatever the issue was.
Right.
The issue of immigration, people sneaking across the border and all that. His first words were, "Can't we just shoot them?" And people was like, "Well, okay, all right, no, we can't do that. That's not legal." Well, how about if we put a moat around the fence, between the fence and build the fence or the wall, and then put a moat on the other side and put alligators in it. Those were the type of things that she said that Donald Trump would come up with in these meetings as a solution to problems. And everybody in the room was looking at it. She's like, everybody looking in the room like, what the hell is wrong with him? But that was a regular occurrence with him. A regular occurrence with Donald Trump, that he would come up with the most extreme solution to problems, with protests, all of that stuff. You remember when he during the protest after the death of George Floyd?
The BLM.
Yeah. And there were all these there were reports of armed men snatching protesters off the street, basically kidnapping them, and nobody knew who they were, where they came from. They knew they were part of the federal government. They were federal agents, but they didn't know who they worked for or anything like that. They had no insignia on there identifying themselves or anything like that. That came out of the Trump White House. You didn't have just regular citizens just grabbing people off the street and taking them whatever. That came from the Trump White House.
You sure did.
And they never denied it. When reports started coming out about it, and regular law enforcement started investigating this stuff, they stopped doing it. And I think I know I heard something about it was people from the Bureau of Prisons or something like that was doing it.
It was a Bureau of Prisons. It was guys from the Immigration Department, Border Patrol.
Yeah.
It was guys from Homeland Security, and you're right, they all had non-identifying clothes on for a reason, and masks for a reason, like they were the fucking Gestapo.
That type of stuff is what was happening. Now, the fact that he felt comfortable enough to do that should give everybody in this world pause, everybody in this country pause in voting for him, because that stopped because people started, law enforcement started looking into it.
Yeah, and people start filming it too.
Yeah, start filming it. So now, if he gets reelected, we can expect stuff like that again.
Right.
Except there won't be any guardrails.
Yeah, he might come get me.
Because this is the crazy thing, and it goes back to Supreme Court. Like we've said so many times before, Supreme Court basically said the president can do whatever he or she wants if they can, as long as they can articulate that what they're doing is in the duties of the office of the president. So Donald Trump can go back and have people kidnapped off the street, and there's nothing that can stop him, because the Supreme Court says he can do that. They literally said he can do that. They said he could do that, which makes no sense. You giving the president of the United States the same power that you given that kings and autocrats have, dictators have. Kim Jong-un does that. Putin does that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what the Supreme, that's the power that the Supreme Court gave him in that ruling. And the crazy thing is, they didn't think that shit was wrong. Matter of fact, John Roberts basically said, one, it's a subjective thing about what the president can do, and two, who's going to decide? Who's going to decide that? That case will end back up in the Supreme Court, and then the same motherfuckers who gave him the power to begin with.
Look, that's a good segue into what Marion just sent in. That's a great segue.
His name is Marion. Get the man's name right. You've been saying the man's name wrong for 3 years.
I've been saying Marion. I've been talking to him for the last week, so I made one mistake in goddamn 4 months. Deal with what's on the screen.
Oh, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, that goes back to what Marion's saying, which is, at the end of the day, it comes back down to the same. It comes back down to the same thing that we've been talking about, which is voting. 47,000 registered people voted in Bibb County, didn't vote. So, Marion, here's my question: what do you propose we do? Do we leave them behind? Are there some people in our community that we just can't save? Because at some point do we just, you grew up in this generation, do we just incrementally keep trying to bring those people back? Because for what you just said, Gary Chambers in Louisiana, if you do not follow Gary Chambers on Facebook or Instagram, you're doing yourself a disservice. He is the same guy that debated Byron Donaldson weeks ago and ate him alive, does this every week. He's been doing it all week, where he's been coming out with the list of people, how many African Americans have voted in Louisiana, and it's shameful. And he's just begging them. He's like, here are the early vote totals. We have this many African Americans in the state that are registered to vote, and this is how many have voted. This is how, and he's been begging people anywhere, hey man, can you send this to your friends? And so it comes back down to what you just said. What do we do? What more can we do to do outreach to get these people to understand? Because their lack of voting directly affects those of us who vote.
Well, the thing is I'll say this. We really there's nothing you can do to convince them. If they're at this point, if they can't see the distinction between the two candidates. See, there's a huge difference in the way that the two candidates think, their policies, and even if you don't follow their policies, just the demeanor, just the stuff that they say, in terms of this is what I want to do, this is what my opponent has done. If you can't see a clear distinction between the two, you can't decide that this is important to vote. Nothing will convince you. Nothing to convince you. I'm dead serious. You have people in this country that are so dead set against voting because we as Black people have been told for so many damn years that voting doesn't matter. You got these people that are so pro-Black that they are they're so pro-Black that they can't see that voting matters.
Like Umar Johnson.
I just don't. That shit makes no sense to me, and I'm serious as a heart attack. It makes no sense that you can't understand as an adult that voting matters, the importance of voting, when all the clear evidence, everything out there, all the evidence. Oh, voting don't matter. That whole stupid shit. Oh, no, it's the electoral college that elects people. No, stupid ass. That's not how that shit works. Or these people who get read one article and think they're experts on how to fucking on how elections work. Dude, this shit is simple as hell, but it ain't that goddamn simple. I've told you this before, and I'm gonna keep saying this. I tell my students, and when I teach government, I say by the end of the semester, you know more about how our government works than 95% of the people in this country. Then I said, no, I'm lying. It's 92%.
That's mine.
Is that you? Oh, okay. Yes, I was about to say, I'm like, where's the music coming from? But we have, Americans are a bunch of people who don't read. And they just sit back and let people who don't know more than they know tell them shit about how shit works. That doesn't make any sense to me. Well, in this age, this digital age that we have, the internet, you can find out everything you know about elections and how election works and how our government works and all that. You can sit there and go down a rabbit hole. But we won't do it. We rely on TikTok. Then you got celebrities, and I don't know why the fuck somebody would listen to a damn celebrity. What makes them smarter than you?
Some of them are smart, and some of them come at it from a place of goodwill. Some of them are smart.
Some of them are, but that doesn't mean they're smarter than you.
No, but
and what they have done is the same thing you should do.
You should
your
do
own
right.
research.
Right. But let's do it.
Hold on. Let me go. I had somebody in my family tell me that Kamala Harris' ancestors owned slaves. That she was Hindu. 2, her family owned slaves. On her mother and her father's side, and something else she said. So I'm asking, what's your research? And she said, I did the research. I was like, okay, what's your sources? She don't send me a damn video, some stupid motherfucker on goddamn doing a YouTube video as her source. Then Candace Owens.
But Kenneth,
that's your goddamn source, Candace Owens?
Kenneth, look at me
that's
and you.
Your source?
Look at you and I though. Look at us physically. Somewhere along the line, all our ancestors owned some slaves. Nothing. What are you talking about? If her father,
I pointed that out too, and I was like, "What? Your ancestors didn't own no slaves?"
Right. What you think? Your family?
I'm sitting there looking like
right.
Damn near every Black person in America has at least one white ancestor. At least one.
Your family wasn't touched.
Which means more than likely they own slaves too. So why are you bringing up her family's history of enslaving people?
Yeah,
And even if you even hold up, let's even go back. Even if your family has no white ancestors and you came from the continent of Africa, there's a pretty good chance your family owned slaves too.
and so
Your
Joe
ancestors
ass
owned
here.
slaves too.
And so Joe ass here.
That whole thing, I was like, really? That's your source. That is your source. Somebody who picks something that somebody says in a 30-minute speech or a 30-minute interview, picks one phrase and puts it up to support their narrative. You don't know the context of the comment. You have no idea what they said, but you take one thing and put it in a commercial or in a video, YouTube video. Take it out of context and see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about right here. See, she said this shit. That's the stupidest shit in the fucking world. To believe that bullshit. That's stupid as hell. Why would you believe some bullshit? Some random Negro on YouTube. See, that proves it. That proves it right there. That shit right there. Shut your dumb ass up.
Yeah, but you know what? Well, look, we tell them to shut up. They still vote.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Then they told me, oh, I'm not gonna vote. Okay, you're not gonna vote. All right. Hey, ain't nothing I can say to convince you. If you following them ignorant motherfuckers, I don't want you voting. I don't want you to vote. That is the thing with us. We have access to the most information throughout history. We have access to more information now than we've ever had in our history of the world. And we have more ignorant ass people because we have access to more information in the history of the world. Nobody wants to do research. Americans are lazy as hell when it comes to finding out information. We want to get it in little small chunks because we have ADHD and ADD. So give it to me in a chunk. No, do some goddamn research. Read a damn book.
So how is that going to help? Okay, so not that it's going to help. How is that going to? Excuse me. What I'm going to deal with what Marion said. I don't know if I got to know what overhauling the whole DNC will do against the psychosis that we're dealing with. I don't see the DNC right now doing a bad job. I think they have done some of the things that common sense folks. Some of this, Kenneth and I both talked about it. Marion, you talked about it. She came to Georgia and didn't just come to Atlanta. She just went to Texas. Now, for her to go to Texas yesterday,
Houston.
tells me that they did have some internal polling that we don't know about that they're keeping close to the vest. Because that says a lot about her. If she says, you know what? Let's just say my internal polling shows differently, blah, blah, even though I don't believe any of that. She felt that it was important enough to go down there and get Colin Allred over the finish line. That's what that was about. Yeah, unless there's something that we aren't seeing. And I think that what we aren't seeing in Texas is, Crystal told me this, is that Beto O'Rourke registration drive has been phenomenally successful. Phenomenally. And all he's been asking for is funds so that he can get the postage to mail in all these voter registrations. That's what it's telling me. It's telling me that Texas is a little closer than what they think. That's what it's telling me. Because why go to Texas?
Houston alone would put
right.
Kamala Harris in. The black community in Houston alone will put her over the top in Texas.
That's what it's telling me. So the question becomes, here's what I want to say. And Mary and I have touched on this in our conversations sometimes because I said it to Kenneth before too. At some point, you're going to have to speak the language that people understand. And for those people who have made up their mind that they are convinced that the Black community and our people in our community who are convinced that the African American community should take a chance on even remotely rolling back our voting rights in any way, shape, form, fashion. I don't care what you want to call it. Those people, to me, have to pay a price. They have to pay a price, because you're right, Harriet. In the Civil War, Johnson rolled back everything and they started killing people. I don't know it's going to get that bad, but what it will do is police, absolute police immunity will allow them to unleash the worst of the police department. And at some point, when we win, we got to make a conscious decision to people like Byron Donaldson, Candace Owens, some of these influencers on TikTok, some of them, they have to pay a price. We cannot make the same mistakes that they have made in the past, which is pardoning Nixon, pardoning the Confederate generals and the Confederate presidents, because all that did was say that there wasn't a price to be paid. The Supreme Court, I was listening to the lady who wrote the book, Pardons and something. She was on WABE yesterday talking about this all day. And she said the Supreme Court has now made themselves the arbiters of what's going to happen in the country. That's what pretty much happened. And there is nothing, the only people that can do something about it is Congress. That those 6 people who have the majority in the court have made this conscious decision. That's what she said. That's just what happened. And she did this research on this book. And you got to make people feel uncomfortable. And here, the thing that gets me, Kenneth, you know this to be true, that other side has no problem making us feel uncomfortable. Look at what they did to Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman. That's my new term. Why don't we Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman them? That's what I keep saying. Why don't we Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman them? The way they doing us. Why don't we Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, John Roberts and all that? Why don't they not have the right to walk out their house thinking there's some nut about to do something? They sure don't have a problem doing that shit to us. Huh? You muted. Why you mute yourself? Go ahead.
I want to go with a mic. I was trying to be professional, sir.
Don't be professional.
Anyway.
I like when you cut me off. I like that type of banner.
Now what I was saying was they did that a few years ago. And there was a big stink about people protesting in front of John Roberts' house and was it Kavanaugh's house and all that, because the neighbors were complaining about people protesting after they came out with after they overturned in the Dobbs decision. Yeah, right. People were protesting in front. So the police they started getting extra protection and all of that. They started getting extra protection. And they shut all that down because they said, well, they shouldn't be you shouldn't be protesting them. You know, they're a
So wait. I know
they're a neutral party in all of this.
So I don't remember Gwinnett County. I do not remember Gwinnett County police. You correct me if I'm wrong. You were here when this happened. I don't remember Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss saying that Gwinnett County gave them 24-hour protection. Matter of fact, what I remember is they came and told them to move out of their house. They came and told them to move out of their house. Bonnie had to move out of her house. That's just a fact. So my point is, some people just don't understand certain languages. And Mary, you're asking for funds from whom? Could it be the DNC, the same DNC? Yeah, absolutely. But he's talking about Beto O'Rourke. But the truth of the matter is, something's in play in Texas, or she wouldn't have went yesterday. That's the only thing I could think of.
And just left. They just showed on TV, just leaving.
Something is in play in Texas. Right. Something's in play. She didn't go to Texas with the presidency on the line unless she knew something about Texas. She hadn't been to Florida. Texas? We know why she's coming to Georgia. Texas? Texas has 29 electoral college votes. 29.
Third largest.
Third largest, 29. And like Kenneth said, something about Houston told him something's going on in Houston with black folks.
Yeah. Well, part of the thing with Houston is the state of Florida, state of Texas is taking over the school board.
Right.
And they're putting rules in place to minimize the effect that the superintendent and the school board, elected school board officials in Houston, or what's it called? What's that county called?
Harris County.
Harris County.
County.
The effectiveness, undermining the effectiveness of those of the elected officials in Harris County.
Right.
That's what the state of Texas is doing. So now you got black people who are pissed because, like, hold on, how you gonna come from the other side of the state and come and take over our state? Same thing was done in
Jackson.
in Michigan.
And Jackson.
Right. Mississippi.
Right. This is the new.
It was also done in Michigan. The reason why they had the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, was because the state of Michigan, the governor, took over all the local government and put a city manager in place who told them to shut down the water. Why are we getting water from Detroit?
Lake Michigan.
Lake Michigan coming from Detroit. When we got the Flint River right here.
Right.
So they cut off the pipes leading from Lake Michigan, from the not Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is in Chicago. From coming from Detroit, they cut off the water coming from that and turned on the pipes from the Flint River. And Flint River had been polluted for years. Then the pipes that they used were old and lead was still in it. So all this lead and all these chemicals that's been sitting in those pipes for years started coming through the water in the Flint water system, and everybody got poisoned. That's how all this stuff started. That's where Flint's problem started, with the water. When the Republican governor of Michigan, appointed a Republican to be the city manager, and he was black. And he changed the water, where they got their water from. And that's what caused all the problems. Jackson, Mississippi, water problems because the state not doing what they're supposed to do. Now they're doing that in Harris County.
Wait.
Houston, Texas.
Before you leave Jackson, and they created a super judicial district in Jackson.
Oh, yeah. A judicial system over Jackson's judicial system.
The elected judicial system. So at the end of the day, so the question becomes for me, and this is what I'm asking, at some point, we got to make people in our community think they can get away with this. I mean, Janelle King just did it at the state election board. That's what they were doing at the state election board, trying to do in Atlanta because the truth be told, if you could get it done in Atlanta, you're going to have success damn near anywhere in the country. Because if you can get it over to Atlanta African-American citizenship, I was just talking to Claire earlier. I was like, Atlanta and DeKalb still showing our vote. She's like, they're showing their asses.
Oh,
they out. Atlanta and DeKalb, the Fulton and DeKalb County are showing their asses. The other counties with African-Americans are lagging. But the county that they were worried about, if they could do it in Atlanta, they could do it anywhere. How do we, and that's what I'm saying, Kenneth. We at some point have to make them pay a price because they have no qualms. This president coming in has no qualms for making states that didn't vote for him pay a price. Yeah. And his supporters are good with that. That's the language they speak.
You know, it's something that they've said. There's been every city that started that's had early voting has been a record turnout, which is the one thing that Republicans didn't want to happen. So one thing they didn't want to happen, record turnout. And in Pennsylvania, I think it was Pennsylvania, I saw some statistics the other day, and they were talking about how many they put out a number. I can't remember the number of people who had voted in the that had done early voting, and they were saying that 52% of the people who voted already were registered Democrats. 52%.
Yeah, 52%. And that's not counting the Republicans that's voting the other way. There's a lot more than people think.
52%. They said, we don't know how many of them actually voted for Kamala Harris, but we do know that 52% of the Democrats, 50% of the early voters were Democrats. We do know that much. And it was, I guess the other was 48% for the thing. Maybe 51, 49, something like that. But it was over 50% that early voted were Democrats. So the one thing that Republicans did not want to happen, the one thing they've been scared of since 2008 is Democrats being energized to vote. Because if you know, pay attention to history, the whole thing about changing, about voting, states trying to cut down on voting started after Obama was elected. He was elected in 2008, overwhelmingly elected in 2008. In 2011 is when they came up with the decision, Shelby v. Holder, where they tried to, Shelby County in Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken, Shelby County sued the Department of Justice and Eric Holder to get the part of the civil rights, the voting rights bill, the one that says states can't change any aspect of the voting unless it has the permission of the Justice Department. Yeah. So that's one thing that they came up with, that they said, that's the one thing that's what that decision came from.
Right.
That as soon as that happened, because they said, oh, well, there's no discrimination in voting or anything like that.
And John Roberts.
As soon as that decision came down, within a few days, they start cutting, trying to figure out ways. They start doing, trying to figure out ways to make things harder for people to vote. First thing they did was say you have to have a state issued ID to vote. That's the first thing they did within a few days. Now we've come to the point where they're purging voting rolls, taking people off the voting rolls. The decisions that states are making to change polling places. Right. There was one in one county in Georgia, one small county in Georgia. There was a small city, and they had one polling place. And it was a majority black city, of course, it majority black, and it was also majority Democrat. They had one polling place in that entire city. They took the polling place out of the city and put it 20 miles down the road in another city. State of Georgia did that. And the reason behind what they said was, oh, we did that because it wasn't it did comply with the American Disabilities Act, which said they had to have wheelchair access and all of that. It didn't comply with that. So, people pointed out, well, why don't y'all just build a ramp then, if that's the case? Why change the whole polling place? They never put it back.
No, disenfranchise African-American voters. And that's my point. For those people those people in my community that are aligned with that and are pushing that, they have to pay a price. They have to pay a price.
I agree.
Either you don't fuck with them no more. Hey, stay over there. I saw a guy on TikTok saying, hey, man, what did he say? Hey, man, look, laughing. I don't know what y'all thinking, y'all that's supporting Trump, but after this election, if he win or don't win, y'all just stay over there. Just stay over there. Don't come mess with us. Just stay over there. Y'all just build your little community, which is small as hell, and y'all just stay over there because you got to pay a price. You can't dog your community. And like I saw some guys in Philly talking about crime in Democratic cities, and I'm gonna vote for Trump. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, what have you done to go and mentor to bring crime down? What have you done? What have you done?
And crime is down. You know what? That's the funny thing about it. They keep bringing up what crime is. Yeah, crime is up, and no, crime is down. Crime is down. And, I thought I said this when the pandemic hit. I wasn't in law enforcement at that time. I was teaching by that time. but I still had friends that were in law enforcement, still local police officers. And I saw one, I ran into one of them, and I said, man, I bet you got it easy these days. Pandemic hit, people, sitting in the house that can't do nothing and all that. I said, crime got to be down. He's like, hell no, crime is up. He said, that shit is up. I'm like, are you serious? What are they doing the crime at? He said, well, of course, there's more domestic violence stuff going on. He said, but crime has been up all across the board. It's up. Even though the pandemic's on, we all supposed to be home, masked up and all this. Crime is up. I was like, damn.
So you're saying it's down now?
It's down now. It was up during the pandemic. Crime increased during the pandemic.
Right.
But now crime is lowered a great deal across the board. Every crime.
Right.
Every criminal statistic is down. It is down since Joe Biden took over office. The whole narrative, and the thing is like this. Like I said, Americans don't do their research. We are a TikTok, Instagram people, and that's where we get most of our information from. Unfortunately, that's where we get our information from. And we, people who know keep telling the other people, no, that's not the truth. No. But you can't tell the people anything. Can't tell them anything.
Well, look,
people who have made up their mind about something, you can't tell them nothing.
Excuse me. We're going on 11 o'clock.
We ain't going on. We're on the other side of 11.
Yeah, I got a full day. I got to be out there by Cap County within the next 30 minutes. Look, everybody, we're coming down to the last stages. Keep talking to people about voting, particularly people in your community. Georgia is winnable if we get out in record numbers. And I also want to say, man, your attitude will determine what type of day you have. So go out there with a good attitude no matter what. We come from a strong people. And at the end of the day, that's what's gotten us through. So that's my goodbye. Peace. I'll see y'all next week. Kenneth?
Hold on.
Oh, I'm not going nowhere without you saying something.
No. What? I was just trying to see. I want to see something. Okay, I was trying to see what the latest numbers were in Georgia. What I saw the other day, I think it was yesterday or maybe it was the day before, over 2.5 million people have voted in Georgia so far in the week. A little over a week and a half, something like that.
Yep.
2.5 million people have voted.
Do you think it's going to be at 4 by Friday?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I can't remember. I know I saw 5 million. I can't remember if that's 5 million. We only have 5 million registered voters or what. I'm not really sure. But I saw the number 5 million. But if we're at 2.5 million already, that means the message has gotten out. At least for early voting. The message has gotten out. I'm going to do my thing. I'll get ready to go stand on the corner and do my sexy thing, encourage people to vote. Last week, I was out at Riceboro Road and Highland Avenue. Today, I think I may just go over there by Augusta Mall, the Riceboro Road in that area. So if you see a brother out there, honk your horn, wave at me, stop by, say hello and all that. It'd be nice to have somebody come out there with me because I do look crazy as hell standing out there by myself, but I don't care. I really enjoy this. I have my headphones on. So if you honk at me and I don't hear, that means I got my music playing. So please just come out, park and say what's up to me and all that. Those of you who are viewers and all that. And if you have, again, as we've been saying since we started this journey, if you have any feedback, positive or negative, let us know. This is a labor of love for Leonard and I. I actually get up early on a Saturday morning, which I really don't like to do, just so I can do this, because otherwise I'd probably still be asleep. Well, no, I'd be up by now, but I'd be sleeping later. I'd be sleeping later. And I also go to bed earlier. so I can get up and be fresh. Because I normally, if I ain't got nothing to do, I don't go to bed till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning watching TV and playing music and all that stuff. So
you want to stay on? You want to stay on? I'll leave it up. You want to stay on? I'll leave it. I got to go.
No, I'm done. Damn, bro. Can I just say my piece?
Hurry up and say your piece.
I can tell you what I need to tell you. Now that you're a TikTok celebrity, you think
I gotta tell you what
he's a TikTok celebrity now. He's a TikTok celebrity. So I'll bow down to you. I'll bow down to you, TikTok celebrity. You
say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Deuces. I'll see y'all next week.
Kenneth Lively.